Hello everybody, Bunny here with my top 10 cards of the recently revealed core set for the Hearthstone year of the Gryphon 2021. Today I will be giving you my top 10 cards and why these are my top 10 cards for the core set. And let's have a look at what the most impressive or maybe the best cards of the new core set are. Let me start out with number 10 is Sarah the Dreamer, giving you all the new dream portals that are slightly weaker than the old dream portals right to your hand. Already, people have pointed out that there's a super cool combo in Shaman where you can use the new slightly buffed Alakir together with Lightning Bloom and the 2 mana 2/3 that gives you spell back to your hand, and Nightmare that you guaranteed now get off a Sarah, where you can put 3 times Nightmare on Alakir, buffing it by plus 12, making the 15/15 Divine Shield charge Wind Fairy and killing your opponent from 30. It's a really cool combo. I don't expect it to see play, but I think Ysera still for value matchups. Even though like Dream only goes on your opponent's minions, but Ysera Awakens being slightly weaker at 3 mana, these are still super powerful cards, and I think if we have a more controlish meta, then they will definitely be in the game. So my number 10 card is Sarah the Dreamer. Next up, at number 9, we got Malygos the Spellweaver Battlecry. The stats are unchanged. The 9 mana 4/12 Battlecry draws spells until your hand is full. I think that's a super powerful effect for a lot of decks that might run out of cards and they want to put it in a lot of more combo-ish decks that might want to contest the board a little earlier. Malygos can be great to be able to draw the rest of their deck, or even a deck that naturally isn't allowed to play much card draw, but just wants to have a lower curve and contest your opponent. Malygos the Spellweaver can be amazing. One of the things I can think about here is you build a deck which is only spells, and then you use Inside the Priest Corrupted card to get you specifically Malygos. You're probably going to still run Elucia to beat other combo-ish decks, but you also want to run Malygos. The deck doesn't naturally have any card draw. If you think about current Cthulhu Priest lists and things like this, and then Malygos really gets you going after having to spend all your answers that just kind of go one for one, or sometimes you need two answers to one question from your opponent. You can draw all your deck and you can activate your Cthulhu pieces. Because Cthulhu decks, as soon as they draw all their cards, they build up the Cthulhu, and most decks don't have a way to beat that. So Malygos, here my number 9 card in the review. Number 8, Taelan Fjordring. 5 mana 3/3 Taunt Divine Shield Death Rattle. Draw your highest cost minion. I think this card is really cool because they've removed a lot of silences from the meta, and I don't expect too many decks to be able to cheaply run silences. We'll still have stuff like Devolving Missiles, and we'll still have Hex in the game, but depending on the meta, there might not be too many effects. This card has Taunt Divine Shield, 5 mana 3/3. That's already like, it's not a great body. The Taunt and Divine Shield tags makes for a good stall, and this might actually work in a more controllish deck, maybe together with some of the better dragons, like Malygos, where you want to tutor all of your spells, or a Sarah that you want to have for a late game option, or other super powerful cards in the late game, like Isharj, or the other old gods that we've seen revealed in the latest expansion. So I think that's a really cool card. That's why I included it here as number 8. And I think it might see if the game goes longer and the decks are more controllish, this might be a really cool card. Now on to number 7. Number 7, I put Dire Frenzy because the card has shown to have incredible potential. In the past, in Midrange Hunter, which I think at that point was the most powerful deck in the game, but that's also due to a combination of other cards being available, like Vicious Scalehide that gave you cheap removal, as well as lifesteal, which Hunter is desperately in need of all the time. They don't have good class tools to be able to achieve that, as well as Master's Call being the big one here, giving you the card draw to actually get the Dire Frenzy Beast. We don't get Master's Call back, so I'm putting Dire Frenzy at 7. Not even sure if it's supposed to be on the list, but we're getting other good support tools. Hunter's getting a new 2-drop. It's a 1/1 that discovers a beast from your deck. So you can Dire Frenzy a beast, especially maybe you even enclose Sunta's Boar here as a 1-mana 2/1 rush, now changed. It's a decent removal tool, and if you Dire Frenzy it, you get a 1-mana 5/4 rush that can help you stabilize a lot if Hunter gets a decent win condition. But since we don't have Master's Call and we don't know what the win conditions for Hunter are going to be, I'm going to put this here at number 7. A lot of other things need to go right for Dire Frenzy to shine. On number 6, I've got Alexstrasza Lifebinder. Alexstrasza, I think I've mostly put it number 6 because I think it's a really cool effect. It might be slightly weaker than the other dragons that we have seen, but it's definitely a great card for tempo. You choose a friendly character, it restores 8 health. If it's an enemy character, it deals 8 damage, and it's character. It's not just minions. So you can basically shoot your opponent in the face for 8, or you can heal yourself or one of your minions when Alexstrasza comes into play. So I think it might be stronger than the previous 9-mana Alexstrasza. To be fair, Alexstrasza previously didn't see any play in Constructed. It was just discovered by different effects, and then it was often very powerful in late game scenarios. But I think here we kind of have a +1 mana rag, but you get to choose where you want your rag shot to go, and then afterwards you can attack. So I think this card is really cool and is also quite powerful. That's why I've included it so high on the list. Next up, we are going to Vanessa van Cleef. It's a new card. It kind of replaces Edwin van Cleef in the core set for Rogue. It's a 2-mana 2/3 combo. Add a copy of the last card your opponent played to your hand. And I think that's quite a nice effect, especially when your opponent wants to play more, again, control-ish or high-cost cards, and they don't have a way to efficiently end their turn with a cheap card or something that is not useful. It might be a cheap card, but that might also be useful for you. And it's a 2-mana 2/3. I think it's a pretty powerful card. I think Rogue has a really good core set generally. We're still having access to prep, backstab, and other good cheap options, as well as recently introduced Nitro Boost and Brain Freeze and World Kick. So they have a lot of things that go with low curves and combos, and being able to have a card that is kind of low curve like Vanessa van Cleef that can also sometimes take you towards the late game and steal one of your opponent's win conditions if they're not able to play another card after it, or steal a super powerful something like Morazon or other great cards in the game. Vanessa really can shine, and I think Rogue is in a great spot generally. Rogue is one of the favorites classes of Hearthstone players, and it continues to get support throughout multiple sets. So I think Rogue is going to have a strong set in general to build around, and Vanessa is gonna do a good job fitting into those decks as well and see a bunch of play. Next up, on the 4th place, I put the Novice Zapper. It's a 1-mana 3/2 Flame Him. It's a Shaman card, however, with spell damage +1 and overload 1. This card, super powerful effect together with Landslide. It immediately overloads you and gives you spell damage, then making Landslide deal 2 damage twice. So you basically get the 3-mana Flame Strike with these 2 cards together. And I think Novice Zapper is also going to work great together with other cards from the Shaman set that already work well with spell power. So I think definitely a great card. Also can be easily discovered in Shaman from Primordial Studies, because there are not that many spell power minions left in the game, and the ones that are left are rather decent. So I think this card will see play, and a Shaman of this type will definitely find some application. So this is why I put it rather high at number 4 on my list. Next up is another familiar. It's 2-mana 2/3 Battlecry, Draw a Secret, Arcanologist. Arcanologist we've seen before in many decks. As long as this card's been around, it's always been in decks, and Secret Mage already has some support. It's already quite popular and a little bit lower ranks. It doesn't quite make it in high legend ranks, but Secret Mage already has a lot of support over the last 2 expansions. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets even more support in the next expansion. And 2 mana 2/3 draw a card in specifically Secret with a decreased secret pool, but still having stronger secrets like Mirror Entity, which is good for tempo, or Counterspell, which is quite meta dependent but can also be really good, and maybe something else. Netherwind Portal, also really great tempo card. I think Arcanologist is definitely going to be played in this expansion, and that's why I put it at number 3 on my list. I only got 2 more, so the first one on the podium is Arcanologist. Number 2, coming right up. Number 2, my personal favorite, even if it's not going to be the greatest card. I think Draxus is going to be great, but it's also one of my favorites. I think it's the first legendary I crafted when I started playing Hearthstone. So I might be a bit blinded by the light here by putting Jiraxis this high up in the ranking, but it's one of my all-time favorite Hearthstone cards, and I think giving it 5 armor instead of making you have 15 HP maximum for the rest of the game is going to make Jiraxis a lot stronger. It now becomes a much more viable late game option if you're playing a more control-ish Warlock deck, and the 2 mana 6/6 elementals that the Jiraxis Hero Power puts out are going to be much more viable when you don't have to start from 15 HP and immediately feel pressure from your opponent. So I think Jiraxis is a huge buff, making it gain 5 armor and not replacing your hero with a Lord Jiraxis. And it can of course no longer be pulled from hand as a demon that we've seen in the past, which is a little bit of a free scenario, but I think overall it's a great buff, and I'm going to put Lord Jiraxis as number 2 in my ranking. Next up, we have the best card, I think, from this core set, and I think that card is, drumroll, Illidari Inquisitor. Doesn't look super spectacular. It's an 8 mana 8/8 with a rush. After your hero attacks an enemy, this attacks at 2. So I think on the surface of it, this card doesn't look too great. It's an 8 mana 8/8 rush. There's really nothing special about it. But of course, the effect after your hero attacks an enemy, this attacks at 2 is amazing. It also says enemy. It doesn't say enemy minion. It says enemy. That's quite an important distinction, because a lot of the charge cards in the game have been removed. And this card can, for example, come out as the 8 mana 8/8, rush into your opponent's taunt, then you hit them in the face with your hero power or one of the weapons that Demon Hunter already has equipped that they still have access to. They made the Warblades stay in the game as a 3 mana with lifesteal weapon, and then you have the Warglaives as well as a 5 mana weapon again. So this card, they can combo well together. Clear board, push face damage, really put your opponent under pressure. I think this card is great. And not only is this card great because it can go face, but also because it can come out way earlier than turn 8. I think if this card would generally be expected to come out on turn 8, you would probably say, I mean, the effect is cool, the face damage is great, we have what it takes for this to be a good card, but Bunny, is this really number 1? And I think what could potentially make this number 1, we're of course going to have to see the expansion, but in the core set, we're also going to have the 4 mana 4/4 that reduces the next demon you play by 2, so this can come out on turn 6. Then we also have, staying in the set, a 6 mana 8/3 that summons a demon from your hand when it dies. 8/3 basically having to be answered, and with the amount of silences going down in the meta, this could actually be a card that sees play. And you could see this Illidari Inquisitor come down together with other big demons way earlier than turn 8. I think if it comes down on turn 8, it's good, but it's not amazing. it's probably going to be contested with other really good minions in this slot. But if it comes down on turn 5 or it comes down on turn 6, it's going to be really forced to be reckoned with, because the face damage and the tempo it comes with while removing a threat could really set Demon Hunter up to capitalize on that pressure and push their opponents with a back against the wall, and then also do damage in the next turns because the opponent is busy removing this minion. So this was my top 10. I got one more card, which is more an honorable mention, because I think this card will never see constructed play, but I think is a really cool idea. And my next up, the honorable mention, is Nosdormu the Eternal. Start of the game, if this is in both players' decks, turns are only going to be 15 seconds long. It's a 7 mana 8/8 dragon. The card is certainly not good enough to be played by itself in any deck, and putting it in your deck only puts you at a competitive advantage. So I don't think it's going to be seen much on ladder when it really counts for the finish, or in tournaments when the stakes are high. But tournament organizers could, in theory, require everybody to run a couple of Nosdormu in their deck. And then we're playing Hearthstone Blitz. People will have to think about, how much does this affect my deck? What kind of decks can I play with it? Do I just jam it in every aggro deck? And we're going to have a completely new game mode, basically, just by requiring everybody to play Nosdormu the Eternal. And I think that's really cool. So I put it as my honorable mention. Nosdormu the Eternal, Hearthstone Blitz, coming to you in 2021. No more roking, non-stop action. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for tuning in to see my top 10 cards of the core sets. I'm really excited for the rotation. I'm really excited for the next expansion. If you like this video, please leave me a comment. Also, I'm going to do a giveaway of one of the bundles, which is 60 packs. Is the Forge in the Barrens expansion bundles. If you subscribe to this channel and leave this video a like and comment something under, if you like this video, don't like it, whatever, I'm going to draw a bundle for all of you, and I'll announce the winner here in a few weeks. The expansion comes out on the 23rd, so I'll announce the winner on the 12th of March here on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching. You guys have a good day. Bye bye.